Um,
Good
first
afternoon.
of first of all, I want to congratulate you on receiving your Doctor of Education in Organizational Leadership
Thank
from
you.
our Brahman program.
Thank
And I guess my first question is, what was your topic of your dissertation? And also, this is all relative to your contributing to my comparative religious cultures class, and I definitely want to thank you for that. But what was the topic of your dissertation in that program?
Sure. So the short answer is the topic itself. It's the lived experiences and challenges of young Muslim Arab Muslim hijabi women in the contemporary era in Southern California, and the age was between 18 to 40 years old, even though most participants were in their 20s and couple late 20s and early 30s.
All right, and my first question is defining what you mean by uh, hijab,
Yeah.
hijab woman.
So
How would one identify a hijab woman?
hijabi woman. So
Yeah.
it's what I'm wearing. It's called it's just a scarf when you just see it or you wear it. But once you wear it in an Islamic context, which is to cover your head and your hair, um, then it becomes a hijab. That's what we call it. It's a Islamic head covering. It has different names, but and the hijab in my context of my dissertation, it just refers to covering oneself. An adult female who covers herself, covers her head particularly. But the hijab by itself, that doesn't mean just what you're wearing. It has a broader definition. So hijab is not just that, it's also your behavior, your attitude, your mindset. It's not so I just wear this and I can drink alcohol and I can party all night and do all these, things that are either by society or by uh, law are illegal or um, not of value. So I have to conduct, it's not just this, I have to conduct my manner and my behavior in that way that it represents Islam and the teaching of Islam. So there are a lot of Muslim women who actually don't either believe in hijab, the head scarf, wearing of the head scarf, or they don't practice it for any other reason. That doesn't mean that they don't practice hijab in their behavior or in their mindset. So, but in my dissertation, and usually in the media, wherever you hear the word hijab, they are referring to what I'm wearing, which people wear it in so many different ways, depending on their culture background, depending on their own comfort zone, their fashion, their style of fashion. So it's just different from one person to another person.
Right. And when I was in Istanbul, I visited the Blue Mosque, which is just incredible. No
Right?
picture captures the Blue Mosque ever. Uh, but and again, a number of women were wearing hijab, and then a number were in what is it, a burqa, full coverage of.
Yes.
What's then that distinction between a hijab and then wearing a burqa? And am I pronouncing burqa right?
Sure. Yes. Yes. And that has different names in different cultures and different countries. They also style it differently. So, for example, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, it might be called chadori. In Iran, might be called chador. And uh, other countries, it might be called abaya. Some call it burqa. So it's very different. The meaning and also the color and the way they wear it is different. So that comes again with the cultural context. So in Iran, they if someone is more religious or they believe in the more covering, it's usually the black covering that they wear.
Right.
It's just like a black um, I don't like to use sheet because there are a lot of racial inappropriate slurs comes with it about Arabs and Muslims. But it's a black cloth that comes from head to toe. It's usually loose, and that is to prevent, to show your figure. Because so when I refer to hijab, to the headscarf, it's as I said, it's a lifestyle. It comes with so many different things. So I can't just wear this and then wear, I have to be fully covered. A hijabi woman or a Muslim woman should be modest in behavior and dressing code. So the dressing code is modest. I can't show too much skin. Even if they don't wear the hijab, usually they try to be very modest. And for the ones who wear the scarf, they cover all their body parts, the curves, so they're not you're not allowed to show your body figure and your skin. Usually from here to here, it's fine. Obviously your face is fine. And then from your ankle to your feet is fine if the skin is showing. But other than that, you are supposed to cover it. And then when it comes with country to country, for example, in Saudi Arabia, you will see a lot of females who also cover their face. And that is something that goes with their cultural background. In Iran, you don't see that. In Turkey, you might see a whole mix of people wearing different types of hijab or not wearing the hijab. In countries that are more religious and conservative, such as Saudi Arabia, you will see females, even those who don't wear the hijab outside of Saudi Arabia, they still cover because the cultural norms expect that to wear. And in Iran, it's going to be more colorful and in different ways because the culture is different. But it's not mandatory, though some females find it very comforting to wear that, and some do it for other reasons.
Right. This is actually very similar to conservative Judaism, where men would be wearing a yarmulke, which pretty much defines them as being Jewish. Hasidic Jews will also have a particular haircut or little curls for the men. And all the women are dressed very modestly, very covered, and even visiting in Brooklyn, visiting a Hasidic Jewish neighborhood, if you're a tourist, you should be covered up as well. In fact, there are a number of incidences where kind of a Western tourist who was wearing shorts and a halter top was just kind of shouted out and kind of even followed to leave the neighborhood. So it's kind of interesting. The similarities of the modesty issue is very significant, and the being very comfortable with self-identifying.
Sure.
And so part of my role in the class is to show comparative things, and even as a Catholic, to start our Easter week, we start on Ash Wednesday, where we have a charcoal cross on our foreheads 40 days before Easter to basically say, I'm a Roman Catholic and today is my day. Also in good Catholic tradition, the day before Ash Wednesday is Mardi Gras, which is obviously a huge bacchanal celebration. And then you go into Lent, which involves fasting, which again, I guess is kind of a segue into what today is, which is the first day of Ramadan. So could you help me understand the celebration of Ramadan? Actually, I've just completed the Easter cycle as a Catholic. So thank you.
It's late, but
happy Ramadan. And then when does Ramadan start? I guess that's interesting because like Easter is on a different day every year.
Every year. It's the
Yeah.
same for Ramadan. If you allow me, I'm going to add one little thing to what you were just saying, the comparison of, in Christianity, in Islam, and in Judaism, as we all call it, the Abrahamic religions, and, people of the book. The Jewish woman, I heard in one of your videos that you have a side of Judaism as well, right? Correct?
Yes,
The
correct.
Jewish women also, especially the Orthodox ones, they usually also cover their hair, or some they wear a wig to try to hide their hair and the beneath of their own hair. And I think it's more norm when if they marry, they have to cover their hair, and if they're Orthodox. And for Catholic women, and especially nuns, more religious Christians, they also cover their hair and their body. So if I think it's a very simple Google search. If you do, I wish I had something that I could share with you right now, that you will see a Catholic woman, how she dresses up, and nun, and then a Muslim woman. It's just very similar, just different coloring, because they have the white under scarf. Their scarf is white and then it's black, and for like a Muslim woman, it's usually black. So it's very similar when it comes to that.
Right. When I was in elementary school, I had some nuns who were in full dress, full habit. It's called a habit, and all you could see was their face. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then recently, I was the dean at a Sisters of St. Joseph's school, and you couldn't tell that the nuns were nuns because they were totally dressed, in modern day dressed, until they talked, and then you knew definitely that they were nuns and that they really lived the life of a nun.
Because even when you look at the portraits of Virgin Mary, she's always completely covered. You will never see her hair, you will never see her body shape. It's always very modest and very dignified.
That's very interesting. Yeah, you're right. I mean, all of the, and I do a lot of art history work, and I do a lot of images of the Virgin Mary because she's an icon in some religions. Pictures of her are actually worshipped. The actual image or picture in both Eastern European and even Mexican culture. Our Lady of Guadalupe, the picture of her fully covered. I mean, she could go into the Blue Mosque with no difficulties whatsoever. Right. But in all of my life, I never observed that. I never had that connection that she's always completely covered.
Covered, yes.
Yeah, that's a nice thing. Okay.
Okay,
so back to the, how do you know when Ramadan starts, I guess?
So then, Ramadan, just as you said, moves every year. Ramadan also moves every year because it's based on a lunar calendar, and it's about 10 to 12, so usually 11 days goes backwards. So each year it's going to be about 11 days earlier than the year before that. So it moves.
Compared to a Western calendar.
But yes, compared to the Western calendar. Okay. And it is, so each country will be different. For example, right now, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Emirates, they have all, said that tonight is the start of Ramadan, and tomorrow, Friday morning, they have to start fasting. And that is because you have to see the new moon, since it's based on a lunar calendar. You have to see the new moon, and then they pronounce that, usually the governments, we all rely on our governments to see the new moon, and then they announce it to the country that, the Ramadan starts. Same with our end of Ramadan, which I'll get to in a few minutes. They still have to see the new moon to announce, okay, tomorrow it's going to be the end of Ramadan, which we're going to be a big celebration, which is called Eid al-Fitr. So Ramadan, it's usually based on lunar calendar. As I mentioned, it's going to be on the 9th month of the lunar calendar. And I'm sorry if I have some notes, if I take a look. It's a very holy month. So a lot of people also just call it the holy month, because Muslims believe this is the month that Jibril revealed Quran to Prophet Muhammad. So there are about 10 days that is called, and a couple of nights that are called Laylatul Qadr. And that is the night, we don't know exactly which night that is, but it's towards the 10 nights of end of Ramadan, that we believe one of those nights was when the Quran was revealed completely to Prophet Muhammad. And it's a very special night. Everybody prays even more and ask for forgiveness. We also believe that's the night that your wishes and all your prayers will be listened to, and hopefully if you ask truly, they will be all you get your forgiveness and you get your wishes. But the Ramadan itself, most people think it's just not drinking and hunger, starvation. It's just you being starving all day, but it's a spiritual month more than anything else. So what it is from the sunrise, before the sunrise, which is called suhoor, we are recommended. Some people have it and some people don't have it, depending on their own schedule and their comfort. We have like a complete breakfast, and then after that, before the sun rises and we have the morning prayers, we have to stop eating till sunset. So usually people say no water. Yes, no water, nothing, no drinking, no chewing gums, no smoking. So you are restraining yourself from eating, drinking, sexual activities, and any other activities such as smoking and other things. And that is not just that. You have to make sure you're also working on your spirit. You're not supposed to talk bad about other people. You're not supposed to do all other things that are forbidden in Islam, period. But at this time, you have to be very careful not to do it, because we all do sins differently, and we all do sin regardless, unfortunately, because we're human beings. But during this time and during this month, we really try to reflect on ourselves, on our bad habits, on our anything that is wrong with our religion that we think we may have fallen, that we have to work more towards that. We are a lot of people actually try to finish Quran since the beginning of Ramadan till the end of it. A lot of giving to the poor, to the other people. There is a lot of food sharing with each other at the end of the day, where the sunset is, which is called iftar or futur. That's when we all break our fast, usually with dates and hot water, and that is based on what our Prophet was doing before. He was breaking his fast with dates. So date has an extreme, it's a very symbolic and religiously in Arab and Muslim culture. And once we do that, we can eat other things. And again, depends on your country and your cultural background. It could be a big feast. It could be broken in different settings of eatings, if you're with a family, or it could be as simple as just eating your dinner. So, but this whole month is all about gathering, about family connections, about again helping each other, helping those who don't have it. So people usually gather at nights for the sunrise, for the sunset dinner, the futur or iftar that I called. And usually a lot of people go to their, grandparents, to the elders. They have these gatherings, or they just whoever that they have around them, and they want that connection. And then they also give food to others. And then in some countries, for example, we don't have that in Iran. I'm Iranian. We don't have that in Iran, that we also eat or invite other people for suhoor, the breakfast, before the sunrise. But I've heard some countries, especially in UAE or some, I think it's Egypt or some other countries, they also invite other people to have also suhoor with each other. So they have the dinner, futur with each other, and then they have to suhoor with each other in the morning as well. And then not everybody can fast. So fasting is only for those who have passed the puberty age. They are healthy, and they can, so they don't have any medical conditions that will affect their health condition. So women who are pregnant, who are nursing, who are menstruating, who need to have anyone who has to take any medications, or if they fast, it'll deteriorate their health. If they're elderly, they're not supposed to fast. And it's forbidden to fast if it'll hurt your health. And it's not as hard as people think, actually. It's very, very interesting to myself that, for example, if I wake up in the morning on a regular day that I'm not fasting, and if I don't eat when I need to eat, I will be very hungry, I will get a headache, I will be in a bad mood. It's really terrible. I'm starving. But when I'm fasting, and you have that mental note the night before, or in this, in the sunrise, that I'm gonna fast, I don't feel as hungry at all. It doesn't bother me at all. There are times, for example, during lunchtime, whatever your lunchtime is, 12 to 1 or whenever, that's when you get a little bit hungry, but then it goes away very quickly again. So it's not as hard. It is just, it's an amazing month, and you'll be amazed with your body yourself too, that how your body can actually, your spirit and your mind can have so much positive effect on your body as well. And then there is a lot to talk about this. I'm just gonna close it up with the last day of Ramadan, which will be Eid al-Fitr in Farsi, or they call it Eid al-Fitr. So that is the last day of Ramadan. It is the first day of next lunar calendar. So by the lunar calendar, each month is about 29-30 days based on when they see the new moon. So when it gets to the end of it, like in the 29, 28 of the Ramadan, they start looking for the new moon again. The governments are looking for the new moon. And as soon as they see the new moon in the evening, they announce that it's Eid. So usually the 3 first days after that, it's going to be Eid. It's big celebrations for, especially in Arab culture and other Muslim countries, than Iran, but it's still in Iran. It's a big day. It's a celebration of everyone gathering with each other. Again, it's mostly going to the families. There's a special prayer in the morning that Muslims try to go all gather at their local mosques and pray that special prayer. And then it's all about sharing food with each other, and having that blessings that they were able to fast, or they were able to give to people. So people who are sick, or for whatever reason they cannot fast, during this time they're usually giving more, they are helping more, they are donating a lot more. We say even feeding another person who's fasting has a lot of rewards in God's eyes. So they are preparing food for those who are fasting. So it's all people are all come together for this month. it's a beautiful thing for us Muslims, and it's a big deal for us.
Well, yeah, and as you explained it just takes the whole Mardi Gras notion, which by the way is translated as Fat Tuesday, uh, before Ash Wednesday, and which is, if you look at New Orleans or you go to Rio de Janeiro, Carnival is done on that day. So it's taking a huge celebration and putting it at the end instead of at the beginning of the fasting period. And yet it's probably almost identical to see parades and celebrations of the two cultures. You
Interesting.
just say one is at the end of it, and then I think, you know, somehow Westerners want to eat first, and defer the fast as long as they can. That's a wonderful explanation. Um, one one of the things that I ask all of my students when I have these conversations with them about what they believe is, what benefits are their faith to them? And this is what I call the application part of my religious studies class. So you believe all of these things. What good has it done for you? And too often we don't share that with each other. Too often we kind of get technical about what I could eat during a Lenten fast, and then what I shouldn't eat. But I'll ask that question of you. What benefits do you feel you have that are fundamental to you about your faith?
So there are a lot, but some that came to my mind, and I took some note. Let me just start with hijab, since we talked about it.
Right.
And I didn't realize it till recently, until I was doing my dissertation, and I was reflecting on myself, and I was comparing what my participants were saying. And it was very interesting to, just how you said, you just realize how Virgin Mary is always covered, and it never occurred to you till I printed out. So I learned a lot through my dissertation as well, through hearing other hijabi women and their experiences and thinking about everything. So by wearing this, it's not easy for a female, especially in this day and age where everything is about how you look like, what you wear. If you look at social media, if you look at your TV, anywhere you look, it's how females are presented, how they look like, how youthful and pretty they are, and how they dress. So, and I think it's a lie if anybody says that, yes, I like to cover my hair because, I just don't, everyone knows that by showing your hair, it's just going to add to your beauty. Or there are dresses or clothes that you really want to wear, but they're not modest, that you would like to, for it to be. So for females, it is that for females who practice modesty, whether they wear the hijab or not, they do wish that they were more liberate and they could enjoy other things as well. But it is where you realize that how actually you have to be strong in a way to say no to some of the social demands that is put on you. So all this pressure that is now that you have to have that beautiful body shape if you want to go to the beach and show off your body and wear your bikini. When you do wear modest clothes, not that you don't think about those things, but it takes some of those pressure away from you. You will start focusing on your behavior and your mindset as a person. So if I'm going to an event, if I'm going to a restaurant, if I'm going to some gatherings with some colleagues or friends, I think I'm being more appreciated as a person, as just icon beauty. And it depends, someone might be thinks she's very pretty or not. It doesn't matter. It's that when you focus on your behavior, instead of just what you're wearing. Obviously everyone, you know, wants to look, you know, nice, and people have different sense of fashion, and they can look different, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you know, there is more to you. It's not just what I'm wearing right now. It's what I have here. It's what I have here. So, and people, it's amazing that people also take a note. Whether it's intentional, they know it or not, they will differentiate. They will treat you differently. And we're talking about people who are open-minded, not racist, not, you know, xenophobic, not Islamophobic. I'm not talking about those people, but general people are nice people. They're open-minded. When they see somebody's respecting herself, they respect you as well. And I'm not saying those who don't wear a hijab or don't wear that modest clothes, they're not being respected as much. I'm just saying that people treat you differently. And I've noticed that. I've noticed, I am married, but I still notice that their men are very careful on how they approach you, just by wearing the scarf. I worked in law enforcement as an intern and a volunteer for a while, and a lot of officers are known for their, you know, foul mouth and, you know, cursing or some behavior. And it was interesting that not all of them, but a majority of the officers were very watchful of their behavior and their language when they were around me. They were very respectful towards me. And these are, I think, all very good things that comes with it. It covers a lot of bad intentions and bad things and bad people already. There might be, there was a lady that I, you know, interviewed, and she had just become a hijabi. A year before that, she wasn't a hijabi, and she was comparing her experience as an adult woman, same person, when she was wearing it, the treatment she was getting from guys, and when she wasn't wearing it, and the treatment from the guys. And it's not that we wear it for them. No, it's not. It's I believe females have to be comfortable with themselves and wear whatever they like to wear, and no one has the right to insult or assault a woman. That's not what I'm saying, but some of the benefits, we're talking about the benefits, these are just the things that I have noticed, at least just by wearing this scarf. Then it comes to the religion practices, and we say la ikraha fi din, and that means there should be, religion is your right, and it should be based, it's a choice. It's not, there's no compulsion in your choosing your religion. So when you believe that, and you really think about what you're praying every day and you're saying it every day, then you would know that you have to respect other people, their rights to choose their religion and their lifestyle. So if you have that mindset and you think about it, then a lot of these things that we hear often, you know, that Muslims say, you know, the Muslims kill Christians and Jews, and they do this and that, and they, you know, if you really think about it and you know what Islam truly is, then you know the first thing, the most important thing in your religion is to respect other people and take care of them. We have a lot of sayings about your neighbors and how you have to make sure your neighbors are, when they go to bed at night, they're not hungry, they are doing well. Unfortunately, at this time and age and lifestyle, we don't know our neighbors really. We barely say hi to each other and know where they're coming from. But if we really truly want to practice all that, then we have to know what they're doing and help them out. There is, I know those who don't believe in God or question religion, they say just be a good human being, and that's it. And they're right. I believe truly religions were brought to us as a guidance. So none of our religions tell us cheat, steal, kill people. They all tell us be a good human being, be a good person, don't cheat, be kind, be giving, forgive, don't talk back behind people, all these good things. So I think good for those people who can be good people without having a religion and a compass. But for me as a person, religion works as a compass, because Islam is not just a religion, it's not a belief system, it's a lifestyle. So believing in Islam, I've been also protected from a lot of bad things, such as drinking. So I don't drink alcohol. I don't abuse drugs or use drugs. Maybe if I didn't have that religion, I would have been, even though it just shows bad judgment, but maybe I would have drunk and have it, drinking and driving. So I'm automatically protected from a lot of bad things that could happen for someone who doesn't practice these things. Islam also, I believe actually, that we don't just cross each other's path for no reason. I believe there is a meaning. So you find meaning when you believe in God and your religion, whether for me it's Islam. I think there is a lot of meaning in my religion, that if something bad happens, so I have that calmness when something happens that I don't like, that it's against my liking, that it's against, God forbid, if there is a loss of loved ones, if there is right now this disease with COVID-19, if there is anything, if we know that there is a bigger being and he's watching us, and he's the healer, and he is the one who will guide us through it when we seek his help, it's just a sense of comfort that you get that from believing in that. So if you're grieving and if you're going through something very hard, hardship is going to be temporary. And in Islam, that no one, God said in the Quran that I'm not saying it by verbiage, but just from my own understanding, that all human beings are born in hardship. So everyone will have their own hardship. It doesn't matter if somebody is very rich, they might have a medical condition that they're suffering. There is suffering for everyone, and we're not born to be happy in this life. This life it's meant to be a test for us. It's meant for us to submit to God's tests and all that he brings to us, and just see the good in all of that, and know there's a wisdom behind anything that happens. There is a wisdom behind, even though it's so hard for us to sometimes understand. It's I don't want to talk about bad things, but for example, if you hear there is a little kid who was raped, who was abused by her parents or whatever, it's very hard to understand why you have that upset madness with God. I do, at least sometimes, that
Right.
why that innocent little girl should have gone through that. Like, where is God then? What's the wisdom behind that? There are things that we don't understand, definitely, but knowing that everything happens for a reason. And in Islam they also say God is kinder to you than your mother, and is closer to you than the vein in your neck. So once you have those things, and if you know that your mom doesn't want it, she'll do anything to suffer, she'll accept it happily just to make sure her baby is fine. And so just imagine how God is for you, and how disappointed he might get once you do something wrong. We don't want to disappoint our parents. We don't want to do something that'll shame them. So once you have all of this, then you try to be a better human beings, and we all need a reminder. Unfortunately, we will forget day to day how to behave and how to think about all these good things. But my religion has been that for me, has been that comfort and calmness for me, that whenever whether it's happiness, I know it's happened because of him. I know I wasn't be able to go through school. I wasn't be able to do all of that if it wasn't his help. It was all with his help. And if it's something bad, I know he's still with me. You know, there is something that I shared with a couple of my friends I like to share here too. During Persian New Year's, we usually buy goldfish. And it's a symbol that we put on our tables, and including other stuff that we have. But usually goldfish, they unfortunately they die quickly. So during those 13 days of our Persian, you know, celebration that we have every year, a lot of times we don't buy it because we don't want it to die, and it just, you know, changes our mood. We don't like that. But there was a time that we had this goldfish, and all this time I was worried every day that this goldfish is gonna die. So I couldn't wait for the 13th day, because we celebrate for 13th day, and then we can, you know, disperse whatever we put on our table for those days. As soon as the 13th day was done, I wanted to take this goldfish and put it in a pond that we know there are other goldfish. So I was going there, and this poor fish was so scared because I was moving, even though I was driving very super slow and I was doing all that, but it was moving and scared. But I could watch it. I was watching the fish being scared and moving around. I think it was the God message or whatever that was, that it just crossed my mind. I don't know if I was going through a hard time that time or what. I don't remember that. I just remember this thing that I was like, you know what? This is how God is with us. You know, this fish doesn't know I'm taking her to a bigger, better place. It's just scared because it's moving in the car, and it's little thing, and it's just moving quickly, and it's scared, but doesn't know, you know, the end result. It's gonna be, you know, in a better place. And I think that's how God is with us. We're in that, you know, that in a fish you know, bowl or whatever, and he's watching us. He knows what we're going through. He knows how we feel, but he also knows what's going to happen next for us. What's next for us? We've been all planning for having trips. I was supposed to be in Iran like a month ago before this all thing happened. So we all plan, we do our things, but ultimately he will plan for us. So we didn't know this is going to be so severe, and we have to be sitting in the house. No matter how much we do plannings, at the end of it, he knows what's going to happen. So I think once we do think about these things, then we'll feel better with whatever happens. You don't have to give up. It doesn't mean, some people say no, submission to God means then, you know, you have to submit to everything, then you don't have to work, then you don't have to work hard because you're waiting for him to do something for you. You know, he's actually telling us, at least in Islam, you should work very hard. Prophet Muhammad and his son-in-law, they were role models for working very hard, working in the, you know, in the field, and providing hard. And it is actually good deed in Islam to work hard and provide for your family. And we believe if you are, God forbid, going to work because you're going to work and provide for your family, God forbid there's an accident and the person dies, that person in God's mind, in God's sight, considered to be a martyr. How do you pronounce that? Martyr, no.
As a martyr, do you mean?
Yes.
Right, yes.
That's a good pronunciation.
They became a martyr, yes. All
yes,
right.
martyr. So that's a huge thing. We always think it's someone who's defending his country or religion. But no, that's if you're working hard for your family and that happens on the way, you're also considered to be a martyr. So there are a lot of good things in Islam that I think has significantly helped me as a person. And then when you put it in the context of the society, when I think about all these things and think that I have to respect other people and help people no matter what, and know that everyone has their own way of worshiping God. Everyone, my way of trusting God and talking to God and worshiping God is different than my younger brother, and my younger brother is different than older brother. So, and it's for every single person, just like our fingerprint, it's completely individual and different. We are no one to judge the other person's relationship with God. So I think once you think about all these things, then you'll see that you'll be also respecting other people and their religion, and then there wouldn't be so much tension as some would try to bring between religions. Once you think about all these good things and know that this has just been a, you know, there has been Judaism and then Christianity and now Islam, what that we believe, then the good things happen for the society too, because you're thinking about all these good things that you have to give, you have to help, you have to do this, you have to do that. So that's been for me, and I think there is a lot of benefit, and but I don't want to go on more. And
No, I know you could go on for 3 hours. What you just said, a lot of the difficulties that we have with religion has to do with politics. And I'm a firm believer in the United States Constitution, which really tried to separate the church and the state for that very reason. As soon as you start politicizing our beliefs or our acts or whatever, that's when friction occurs. That's when explosions literally occur. But when we get to this kind of personal level and openness, we see that there's really no need to politicize it, because the comfort that Allah gives you and that God gives me, and you'll see above me I have the Dalai Lama. You see the Dalai Lama is looking over my shoulder. I mean, the Dalai Lama suffered the annihilation of all of his monks and all of his nuns by the Chinese communist troops that took over Tibet and forced him, into exile. And yet he can still say that he loves them. He loves them. Do you have to be God to be a God? As you can say, well, he doesn't have to worry because he believes in reincarnation. This is just a stopover. But he says what you have control over is what you have inside of you. You can feel calm no matter what happens outside of you. And I love your goldfish image because I feel a lot better about what's happening to me now, is that we're being carried along by a higher power, which as you well know, that higher power is what helps addicts more than anything else, more than drugs, more than anything else, is that sensibility. But I love your goldfish
Thank you.
story.
It helped me, so I thought I should share that with you as well. I think once we start thinking more positive and try to focus on our commonalities and our, as you said, think that, okay, this is helping that person and is comforting that person, then you wouldn't think so much about religion. Is a very powerful tool for politicians to use because they know how we feel about religions, and it's a strong bond that we have our religion, whether we're practicing it or not. When it comes to it, we're all going to be very protective of our religion. So it's very easy for them to manipulate people. Unfortunately, people who are not as educated, and I'm not just saying educated as having a degree. You can be you have multiple degrees and you're still very uneducated when it comes to humanity and treating other people and thinking about things more deeply. But because if you want to focus on ugliness, we find ugliness in every single religion, in every culture, in every race, in every country, whether it's Christianity, whether it's even in Buddhism, there's always
Right.
ugliness if we
Oh,
want to focus on
there
that.
were actual Buddhist wars
Right.
in the history of Buddhism. I mean, I'm
Right,
sorry, it's a
because
contradiction.
we think of Buddhist people as very peaceful people, as very
Right.
mindful, but if you want to focus on the ugliness, then you'll see what's happening in Myanmar.
Right.
If you want to
Exactly.
think about the bad things, then we have to think about what's happening with some of the extremists that they call themselves Muslim in the Middle East, or think about the priests and what's happening with some of the priests and the bad things
Children.
happen
Right.
with children. So if we want to focus on ugly, we can find ugly. There's ugliness all around us in the world. But if we choose to find the beauty and appreciate the individuality and the differences, we don't have to be all the same. We shouldn't believe all the same in the same way. The beauty is in our differences, in our uniqueness. So once we try to appreciate your point of view and his point of view, then that's when we find actually more appreciation for our religion as well, our culture as well. I think I started appreciating my background, my religion, my culture, my country, all that when I moved to US, because people were asking me all these questions and I have to answer, and some of them I don't know. I've never thought about it because I was, even though it's still different in Iran, we're different, everybody has their own different personalities and lifestyle and belief system, but we're very similar at the end of it. So when I come here and it's everyone's different and they don't know anything, for example, about Iran or my religion or my culture, and I try to explain, I'm like, wow, for example, I have all these good things that are happening and I never appreciate it. I was wearing the hijab in Iran, same,
Hmm.
even more religiously, and I never appreciated it as much as I'm appreciating it here. So I think these differences actually help us become stronger even in what we believe, not only what people believe, but we believe as well.
The other, two other things, and then this is wonderful. Then we can wrap this up. But one of the things I ask my students is to identify what is sacred for them. What are their sacred things? And the reason I ask that question is sometimes when people disrespect us, they just don't realize
Right.
that is precious to you. And I give two examples. One is a mezuzah, which is kind of, I usually just demonstrate it, hold it up. It's in Jewish households that bring good luck to that household, not just to the people in that household, but to anybody who enters that household. You touch that, and then you share in the good luck. Uh, and then the other one I give is a rosary that I bought in Ephesus, which is near Izmir, Turkey, in a grotto where supposedly the Virgin Mary died and was buried. And I have this little plastic rosary that you would say that's sacred to you, but it means so much of my connection with
Right.
my mother. I loved your connection with Allah and the mother. Um, and I actually have it in my computer case.
Wow.
So, but kind of similar to that, and that's why I encourage my students when I have these conversations to share that. So I'll throw that question at you, and then the last question I'll ask is, what questions are you uncomfortable being asked?
Sure, definitely.
Okay.
I think there are a lot of things that are sacred to us, um, but the main things would be the Quran.
Mm.
Uh, as you know, I brought one just to show they come in different colors and different shape and everything, but we never step on Quran. It's not just like a book that you throw away. We always take it with two hands, because that's the way you respect when something's precious to you. We at least I've been taught, I've been taught to not just, you know, lay down and read Quran. No, you have to be sitting, you have to be in, you know, it's just like when you see your boss, you don't just sit around, you don't, you know, just
Hey buddy, how you doing?
spread your legs and just
Right.
feel comfortable or chew gum or whatever. So this is your God. So you have to be very cautious of how you treat your Quran and how you read it. So Quran is it's very precious to all Muslims, and that's why I think when we hear, for example, there is a protest in you know, Florida, that people are going to burn Quran, that so many Muslims get so mad about it because it's such a sacred item. It's not just an item. It's so much bigger than to us. You know, when I've seen Christian scripture on the floor when I've been walking on the street, that I don't know, somebody maybe had handouts or something that it threw away, or it fell. I don't know what happened. Still, I respect that. I try to take it and put it somewhere that people don't, you know, step on it. Even though I don't read, you know, Bible,
Right.
but I respect that, and I think I demand that respect from people who don't believe in Quran, but just be mindful. It's not freedom of speech. It's not everything is freedom of speech, and just because you're free to do something doesn't mean you have to do it, because it could be very disrespectful to others, and that comes with Quran. And then there is also with how I think we name our prophets. So our prophet is, we never just say Muhammad. That's how Americans and Westerners usually call him. When we call him, we always say Prophet Muhammad, and then we add peace be upon him. And that is the same for Jesus and Moses. We never just say Moses or Jesus. He's not, you know, he's not a little kid running around in the street. He's a prophet. He's Jesus, Moses, Noah, Ibrahim, and Prophet Muhammad. These are the 5 most important, highly respected prophets in Islam. So when we say Ibrahim, we don't just say Ibrahim, we say Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him. I see in America, especially, people make fun of Jesus. They have it in their jokes, in their comedy shows, stand-ups. We don't play with that. We don't play with God. We don't have all these, you know, these things. We highly respect God. We highly respect our prophets. So I think that's important. And then also, we don't usually portray, especially Prophet Muhammad's face.
Right.
So that's also, I've seen that in France or in some other places, some people try to be funny and, you know, have a caricature of Prophet, and, you know, people, there was a backlash because people were upset with that, because we believe you shouldn't, you know, draw his face. And and whenever there is even Prophet Jesus or Moses, it's usually light. Whenever they have it in their paintings, in Muslims, they have those paintings, it's usually with lights. So because we respect them, it's not just something you will draw.
Sure.
We have the Zamzam water that is very sacred to all Muslims. We don't always have it in the house because it's very difficult to get it. It's in Mecca. When you go you know, for the pilgrim in Kaaba, there is a story behind this, that when Ibrahim, Prophet Ibrahim was his wife. Sorry,
Sarah.
Ibrahim was going to Sarah. Yes, we say sorry. She was going to give birth to her son, and she was in that location, and the baby was so thirsty, and it was hot in the desert in Saudi Arabia back then, and she ran 7 times because she was seeing a mirage. Every time she thought there is water, so she was running in the desert in that hot weather to get water for her baby. And every time she went there, there was no water, and she did that for 7 times to that location, run back and forth. And then when she was so desperate and she was tired, she asked God, like, what am I going to give my baby and all that. That's when the baby was crying, and as he was crying, he was scratching the dirt on the ground with his feet, and that's when the water Zamzam came out. And it's been still running all these years. So anyone who goes to Mecca, they usually bring some water for everyone that they want to give some gift, something important to them. We believe it's a sacred water, and that's Zamzam. And there's something that is usually not all Muslims believe in that, but especially in Iran, whenever we pray on something like this. It's a dirt, and usually it's even better when it comes from Karbala, and that is for Shias who believe in Imam Hussein. That's a long story that I'm not going to get into, but he was killed when fighting for justice. So he's a symbol of justice for Shia Muslims. And they were all killed. There were 72, it was him and 72 people of his close family and friends who wanted to fight injustice back then, and they were all killed in a very vicious way. They were all incapitated. It was a very bad thing, but it's been for years. It's been something that especially Shias they still mourn every year during that time. So yeah, they use that there to make things like that. This is not from that, but that's even better. That is very sacred to Shia Muslims, and we use something like that to pray on. So when we stand up for a Muslim prayer, you usually stand up, you go on your knee, and then after that you go on the floor. And then when we go on the floor, we usually put our head on this. And the meaning behind it is that we all come from dirt, because that is what's said in the Quran. That we all
the ashes. Yeah.
we all come from dirt. We are nothing than dirt. It was all because of God's willing and God's blessings that we became what we are right now as a human being. We will die, we will become dirt again. And at the end of the word, at the end of the, I don't know what it is in English, if I can translate it, when all human beings are alive again, to see who goes to heaven and to,
Right. We call it the final judgment.
The final judgment. Yes, the day of final judgment, we all come back from dirt again and to one piece and become this human. So it's just a reminder, it's a humbling reminder of remembering who you are and remembering that you are nothing other than dirt. So be humble. You came from, God made you, and then you will go back to him. So there is some people think it's, you're worshiping a stone, or you're worshiping. It's not worshiping that. It's just a reminder, and it's a humble gesture that we know where we're coming from, and we're gonna go back to that. I think that's what's right now that comes to my mind. These things are very sacred to us. We also have things that are similar to the rosaries.
Oh, yes, sure.
They come in different shapes and colors and all that, and we use them to also say our prayers. So you see that in some of some Muslim people, especially men, they usually like to carry one of these and play with it or say their prayers. So it's very similar to the rosary. So sometimes I see a car that has one of these, and I think, are they Christian or are they Muslim? Because they know we have very similar thing, and it's you know, it's sacred to us. Oh, so that's that.
Well, again, that last question was, are there some questions that you would prefer not to answer, or just to be more, that non-Muslims should be more sensitive about asking the question?
Right. So one question that I usually get from strangers, especially when I meet people, they ask me if they ask me if I'm Muslim or not, and then they ask me what type of a Muslim I am. I am a Shia or Sunni, and for a period of time, it would bother me, but I would understand why. Till I realized that you know, when you put it in a political context,
Right.
With everything that's going on, with what's being used of this sectarianism between Muslims and all these wars that are happening in Yemen, in Iraq, in Syria, in, you know, Palestine, all these things are bringing separation between Muslims. Unfortunately, some Muslims are also not fully aware of that these things are bringing separation between them. I have some Yemeni friends, and they told me they never asked each other. It was very interesting to me because I didn't know, you know, in Iran, it's majority Shia Muslim. So I wasn't raised with a Sunni Muslim to know and learn about these things. But fortunately, being here, I've been able to meet, you know, the people from different faiths and different culture and races. And one is, you know, meeting some Sunni Muslims and learning about them. And they told me, at least from in Yemen, before the war, they were never um, thinking about who's Shia, who's Sunni. They all lived peacefully with each other. They all went to same mosque and prayed the same with each other. They would marry each other without even questioning the background, if he's Shia or Sunni, or if she's Shia or Sunni. And everything was fine till this war happens. And right now we know there is a war between Shia and Sunnis in Yemen. And after that, they said, now if you want to propose to someone, they'll ask, what are you, if you're Shia or Sunni? So these things bring a lot of separations within Muslims. And I have a problem with that because it just reminds me of that. And I think when I ask someone what they believe in, and if they tell me Christian, I never ask them, what type of Christian are you? Catholic? Are you Orthodox?
Right.
This and that. I just respect that as it is. Same with my Muslim friends. I never ask them what type of Muslim they are. And there are some Muslims who don't believe in secularism at all. They believe we're all Muslim, and there is no secretary, you know, there's no sections or and it shouldn't be even mentioned. So it could be quite offensive to some people. It could unintentionally, it could bring some more divisions to people and causes some harm. So that's something that I personally don't like people to ask. And when I talked about it with some other people, and they were like, yeah, why would people want to ask? Like, what is it gonna do for them to know what are you? So based on our countries where we're coming from, and the majority of those people, we tend to assume what they are, but it doesn't matter. I'm not going to change my friendship with someone if they're Christian, or if they're Shia Muslim, or if they're Sunni Muslim, or if they call themselves Muslims. That's one thing that I get offensive, quiet. There's something else that a lot of men ask that is offensive. I don't care if female asks me, but they ask, so, and people ask that often, even my participants pointed that too. So what color is your hair,
Oh,
or
that's
what is
interesting.
your, what does it look like? How long is your hair? Or not just show us like how the length, or
Yeah,
is it wavy? Is it straight?
wavy. There you go.
Exactly. Uh,
Gray.
if I wanted to talk about my hair, I would have shown you my hair. So
Right,
it's quite offensive when you ask a hijabi woman about her hair or her body or what she does and what she doesn't.
right.
Uh, so that, I think that's a question that you get from especially young men often. Um,
See,
there,
I want to interrupt. That's also true for a number of African American women who are very offended if you talk about their hair, because that kind of it's about their own personal choices, and it's like none of your business.
yes,
So I think that is a similarity. Yeah.
yes. There's
Or
also,
can I touch your hair? Which
yes.
is what? Right.
Yeah, that's very demeaning. I've heard that for mm, African American females too, that people tend to do that. There's that political affiliation assumptions. So I think I'm a minority within a minority. So I am a hijabi woman, a Muslim hijabi woman, and I'm also Iranian. I don't know how many Iranians you've met in your life or you know around you, but usually Iranians here in the US or outside of Iran, usually they don't wear the hijab.
Right.
So a lot of people, whether they're Iranian or not, they automatically think so you are different, and you're probably these are your political affiliations or beliefs. So probably you also um, believe in, I don't want to name groups and governments, but then you support this and you support that, and you believe in that and believe in that. This is something between me and my God, and it's a very it's just a religious thing that I have for me and my God, and it has nothing to do with my political affiliation. Surely our religious beliefs have something to do with what we believe into see in political aspects as well, but that shouldn't necessarily mean just because she wears the hijab or just because she doesn't wear the hijab she should be this and that. There's also this question and this assumption that because you wear the hijab you must be forced to wear it, and that's very, very common, that you are a submissive person, you're oppressed, you're wearing it because of your husband, you're wearing it because of your parents, this has been forced upon you. That is very disrespectful to my intelligence as a person. I am I think I believe I am an independent, intelligent woman. Not intelligent like that intelligence, but have enough intelligence to choose for myself what I want to do in my life. And my husband has nothing to do with that. My parents have nothing to do with that. Obviously, my upbringing has shaped me this way. There's no question about that. But right now, as an adult person, I would get to choose what I want to do with my life and my body and my religion. It has nothing to do with other people. So these are the questions and assumptions that we usually get, especially as females who wear the hijab. And another question that people ask is, so okay, if you think it's mandatory to wear the hijab, then why other Muslim, I know this Muslim woman who doesn't wear the hijab, so does it mean she's not Muslim, or does it mean that she's not religious? So no, that doesn't mean anything. That's I have many friends who don't wear the hijab. I have friends who wear the hijab and they wear it differently, and that has it doesn't mean that I'm more or less than anybody else. So if she believes and she likes to wear it, it's her choice, and if she doesn't, it's her choice. So just like Christians, that some, or Jewish people who drink or don't drink, they say, you know, because of religiously, I don't believe in drinking, or so, or going to church or not going to church. It is something that is very personal to a person. So unless you're very close to that person and you feel comfortable to ask that question, I don't think people should ask people and have that judgment that, you know, if somebody wears it or not wears it is any different than other people.